And we are live. Welcome to the MLB Strategy Show. It is Friday, September 13th. So we're going to be in for a weird one. Exciting to be here. 11-game slate ahead of us for today. Hit that like button if you're here. Subscribe to the channel. Hit the notification bell so you know when everything goes live. Follow me on Twitter. That would be at Josh Engleman. Maybe you're watching on Twitter right now. I'm going to assume you follow me, but you should be doing that one way or the other. Now we're back here to break down this slate. Lots of weird stuff going on. We've got Coors. We've got the Cubs, the 6+ run implied total as the number one stack. We got the Rockies, expensive, but maybe under-owned for being in Colorado. Astros look like a pretty good stack today. Twins look kind of interesting, although they're getting a little bit of ownership. Dodgers look interesting, but they've got Schwellenbach on the opposite side. We've got a lot to talk about. I've got my sim running right now, which should be close to done. Oh, yeah, we are just about done. So we're going to break it all down. I hit a 4-leg strikeout round robin yesterday. That was kind of fun. Went 4-0 there. Saved me from just the awful Wednesday that I had. Went out to dinner last night, so didn't play DFS. A lot of oysters, a lot of mussels. It's really bomb cornbread. Some tuna. Got some ice cream. It was a good day. It's a good day. But we're going to break down baseball now. I'm going to start at the top. We're in Coors. I've got it on the screen right now. Number one stack for today is the Chicago Cubs. I have it at 19%. Stokastic has it at 18%. No one else is even close. I have the Astros as the next closest team, 7 percentage points lower. Austin Gomber going for Colorado. Not like he's very good. Everything today is pointing towards the Chicago Cubs being the unequivocal number one team. And they're not even that expensive. The only downside to the Cubs is that they're not all that stackable. Happ, Suzuki, Bellinger, 3 5K outfielders in the top 4. You do get Dansby Swanson at 4,600, who's probably going to look like one of the better options you can get to at short today. And then you get Paredes or Patrick Wisdom with some first and third eligibility. The Cubs look really good. They look really good. But I don't know if they're going to get stacked as naturally as it seems. I think Colorado, on the opposite side, is probably more interesting. Javier Assad is going for Chicago. The Rockies right now are projected for less than 5% ownership. They have the third highest implied total on the slate. Stokastic has them third in top stack. I have them fourth, but they're 7th in ownership. I am anticipating getting to quite a bit of Colorado today against Assad. I think they just very obviously stand out as a team that is getting underrepresented. And to me, they're easier to stack than the Cubs are. Outfield short, outfield third, first, second, first 6 guys. That's not going to be all that tough to hunt down. Are they a great value? No, they're not, because they're not very good in general. And that is limiting their value. But they're still middle of the pack-ish, at least to me. I'm anticipating Colorado being a team I'm getting to. Yeah, we're going to have East Coast weather for sure. It absolutely dumped water all over us last night here in North Carolina. But yeah, Dodgers Atlanta is going to be a thing. You're going to want to pay attention to MLB Live Before Lock later tonight to make sure, you have updated weather reports. It helps that this game is at 7:20. Like, we're going to have a lot of information heading into lock. But that is one you're going to want to keep your eye on. Miami and Washington as well. Tovar over Swanson. I mean, Swanson is by a mile a better play. Not really close at all. So it kind of just depends what you're looking for and what your ownership looks like. But I expect the Colorado Rockies to be the first team that we build in the single game sim in about 25 minutes. But those two teams are clearly the first two teams we're going to be looking at. And then we need to look at the Astros. Astros have knockoff Spencer Arrighetti in Sam Aldeguerri. Obviously, the Astros are good. Probably the second or third best lineup on today's slate. Whether you prefer the Dodgers or the Yankees, your mileage may vary. Very stackable. Third outfield short in the first four, or in the first five, plus Diaz with catcher first, Victor Caratini with catcher first, Mauricio Dubon third in outfield. Jeremy Pena gives you some additional flexibility. Every bit of this looks good for the Astros. Park plays up power to both hands. So, Steven, the reason the Rockies are going to look good is because of Brady Basso being 4K. I'm expecting to have a lot of him. He's 18% owned. That's the fourth highest mark on the slate. I think Basso is going to unlock a lot of things. Maybe it doesn't unlock the Rockies. Maybe it unlocks the Dodgers. Maybe it unlocks the Yankees. But I've got my eye on the Astros. I think they're very stackable. The park works, and there's plenty of power here to go around. What I do think is interesting, though, normally I see a team that I know I'm going to be stacking against like a relatively highly owned pitcher. The Rays are facing someone with 27% ownership, but I have them 2% top stack. 19% ownership going to whoever's starting for the A's. 2% top stack for the White Sox. 2% top stack for the Angels up against Kikuchi's ownership. 1% top stack for the Giants. Like, I'm not sure who that team is going to be that I'm attacking based on opposing pitcher ownership. I don't know if I have one. This just might be Cubs, Astros, Rockies, and I figure it out after that. I could see the Dodgers being a team I get to because I think they're a little under-owned. I don't really have any other examples of that. Like, look at the ownership and top stack odds. 4, 4, 4, 3, 3, 4, 2, 4, 5, 5, 2, 3, 5, 4, 2, 4, 3, 5, 3, 3, 4, 4, 5, 5, 1, 2, 2, 3, 1, 2, 2, 2. I know I'm saying a lot of numbers really fast, but what I'm saying here is that there's a pack of 15 teams, maybe. Let's just grab everything here, and we'll go here, and the whole way down. I have 17 teams on today's slate that are all right where they should be owned. Now, some of them, Mariners, Rangers, Giants, Padres, Angels, White Sox, Rays, I don't anticipate getting them because they look bad. Cardinals as well. Maybe ownership helps. So I see the question here from Clayton. Where's Minnesota at? I don't know what it is, but I hate Minnesota every day. Like, I've had them wildly over-owned. Like, they were heavy chalk last week, or maybe that was earlier this week. I never got to them. They're incredibly cheap, but I don't think they're very good. And I think that's what's blocking me out. I have been underrepresenting them for a while now. Like, I have their top stack odds 2% lower than we do. I have their top value odds 1.5% lower than we do. They're third overall in ownership because they're free. 3,100 in the leadoff spot, 4K, 3,600, 3,300, 1 through 4. Royce Lewis is 5K, but you're getting a third baseman, and he deserves it. So that's not crazy. Like, these guys are really easy to get to. And normally the teams that are really easy to get to, like Minnesota today, is a team that I just run away from. I would expect to be very light on Minnesota. Now, Bailey Ober, on the other hand, I have with the second highest projection of all pitchers behind Dylan Cease. He's only 14% owned. I have his implied ownership at 24. I'm figuring I get like 50% of Bailey Ober. I think he's the most underrated pitcher going today. But in terms of Twins bats, lineup filler, you know, like if I'm going to a Rockies stack, this under-owned team that I think has higher upside, filling out with the Twins makes a lot of sense. But I'd be very surprised if I end up with Twins 5-mans and Twins 4-mans. Is Altuve hurt? Don't know. We'll find out when they drop that lineup, though. That's for sure. Altuve didn't play yesterday. Side injury. So, could be someone that doesn't quite make it to the lineup today. Man, Altuve is good. Is Altuve going to make the Hall? He is, isn't he? Where is he in like black ink score and stuff? 29th in black ink. That's slightly better than average. 97 gray ink, so a little bit worse than average. Jaws score 20th best second baseman. He would be a below average second baseman. He's going to need to tack on a couple extra years. It'll be interesting. All right, Sim is done. What do I have? Other than Bailey Ober, I'm not confident in anything. Cubs, Astros, Rockies, I expect. Bailey Ober is the only thing I can guarantee. Bailey Ober is 100% happening, and my guess is I have an infinite amount in relationship to what the public has. So let's grab my top 50. A lot of Basso and a lot... Oh, maybe less Ober than I was expecting. I'm definitely getting a lot of Dylan Cease. Maybe Basso is blocking me a little bit from going crazy. Let's see what we have. All right, hitting. Under on the Cubs, over on the Rockies. Braves stand, Astros stand, Brewers stand. A's a little bit. I think somebody mentioned them before. Yeah, Steven, that was you. Little bit of the Twins. Very different hitting exposure than I was expecting. So let's look through it. Number one team is the Astros. I'm not surprised by this. I want this stand. I don't have Altuve in the lineup, so this could look even better if we end up slotting in Jose Altuve at the top. But 18% of the Astros, 34% of Alex Bregman, around 20 for Alvarez, Diaz, Tucker, Pena, Caratini. I love every bit of this. Very happy to get the Astros as my number one stack. Now we look at number two. Now I bet Jorge Soler and Marcell Ozuna to homer already today. Braves number one for me. I don't love it when they go outfield, but if I'm going to load up on Harris, Soler, Ozuna, Olsen, and Orlando Arcia, yeah, I'm not going to be too upset about that. Landon Knack has some power problems for sure. Not a guy I'm super worried about. Don't know if this game's going to happen, but righty power works enough in Atlanta. Knack gives it up against righties. I like the Braves as a sort of contrarian flyer. Only 4% owned. Highest owned dude on the team is Michael Harris. Everybody else is 5% or less. I like Atlanta. Number three team is the Brewers. I did not see this one coming. I think a lot of this has to do with Erod on the opposite side because the park crushes power. But Erod has not been good. It's really only four dudes for the Brewers. Churio, Perkins, Contreras, and Willy Adames. Outfield, catcher, short. But, just making sure that I'm getting 2x the field on the Brewers, I don't mind that at all. Those are the only three teams that I have north of 10% of. I have two teams with 9. Both of them are projected for 5% ownership. The first of which is Oakland, which Steven mentioned before. And that's really just three guys. Geloff at second for $3,200. Like it. Langoliers, a $4,100 catcher. Like it. And then Lawrence Butler in the leadoff spot at $4K. I like it. So that's going to be a lot. What I'm assuming is minimal 5 and 4 mans, but a lot of 3 mans of Butler, Langoliers, and Geloff. And then finally, the Rockies, who I talked about before. First 5 guys in the order, all 10 to 14% owned. Blackman, Tovar, Doyle, McMahon, and Toglia. First, third, short, outfield. Absolutely. Neutral on the Twins, which is kind of sort of what I was expecting because they just work as really good filler. The Cubs are the interesting one. I assumed I would get there and I didn't. And I think it might just be because they're a bit overowned. I still have 6% of the Cubs, but I am very light on Wisdom, Herner, no Cody Bellinger. Would you ever play Sanchez over Contreras to save money? Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. All right, let's look at pitching. And if you guys have another team that you want to look at, let me know. Otherwise, we're going to hop into the single lineup sim a little early. Well, that tells the story. 2, 4. I only really have 6 pitchers. 6.5 if you want to count Clark Schmidt being in 3 lineups. But 2xing Dylan Cease. I have him as the number 1 pitcher. I want to lock that down. Not a problem. 36% of a 15% owned Bailey Ober. This is the one that I think people should join me on. Bailey Ober is really good. And he is not getting the correct respect here for today. Let's look through it so that I can show you guys what I'm seeing. So it's the strikeouts for Ober that aren't getting represented to me publicly the way that they should. So let's start here. How have the Reds been in strikeout rate? Now, this is one I don't have an answer to. Active roster against righties. Cincinnati Reds are 7th in strikeout rate at 24.5%. Love it. You get in a team again in the top 10 there, you're very happy with the matchup. Also, 97 WRC plus hasn't been amazing. Let's see. Their on-base percentage is 17th, so middle of the pack. They are also middle of the pack in walk rate. So that all looks great. Here's why Bailey Ober looks amazing. So if we go to Cincinnati here and we just let's look at Bailey Ober from last year. 29% K rate against righties over 1,100 pitches, 21.5 against lefties. If we look at just this year, 27% against righties, 25.5 against lefties. If you combine both years, he's at 28% against righties, 23.5 against lefties. This is a way better than average strikeout guy. We're talking about, 25, 26% in this sort of matchup. You're hoping for more righties. Right now, they're profiling 3 lefties in the lineup. There is no better pitcher to me today than Bailey Ober. And I really don't think it's close. If we're talking about relative to salary, Cease is the top overall pitcher and the guy I have the most of. Bailey Ober is the most underrepresented guy. By the way, strikeouts against lefties do play up in Minnesota a little bit, which is interesting. But I think the clear best combo is Cease and Ober. I have 20% of Kikuchi. He's 20% owned. I have 20% of Tanner Babi. He's about 20% owned. I have a 20% stake in Gossman, who's around 13, so looks good. And then 34% of Brady Basso. He's 18% owned. He's the flat 4K today. And I don't know how you go against that. One, they're facing the White Sox. Now, are the White Sox better than they were in the middle of the season? Sure, they are. Do they strike out a ton? No. Active roster, middle of the pack in strikeout rate against righties. I got to pull that up against lefties. Wrong rates. White Sox against lefties are 7th this season, 24.7% K rate. Oh, get right. Guys, listen to this. The third worst team in the league in WRC plus against lefties this year is the St. Louis Cardinals at 84. 2 teams are tied at 66. That would be the White Sox and the Marlins. No teams have been worse against lefties this year. So the White Sox strike out against lefties. They have a 222 average, a 275 on base percentage, and a 312 slugging against lefties. They have a .090 X ISO against lefties. They're awful. Awful. It looks like they're running out 8 righties. It doesn't appear that any of that is a good thing for the White Sox. Basso looks great. Every part of the matchup is on his side. And we haven't even factored in yet because he just looks good by default, I might add. The fact that he is 4K today is full stop broken. His outs prop right now is 16.5 on FanDuel, slightly less than, or slightly juiced to the under. Call it 16 outs if you want. He's projected for 5.5 strikeouts, -170 to the under. I have him at 4.7. This dude is so easy to want to roster. And that's why I think I have 35%. The matchup is great. The park is totally fine. Every bit of this looks good for Basso. Oh, man, he looks good. So if you need to save salary today, that's immediately the direction you go. Because Basso's the easiest guy to roster by a mile at 4K. Like, Basso's the same price as Lawrence Butler today. Now, I have the target score for pitching pretty high. But at 4K, put it this way. I have Basso with a 9% chance of getting 27 fantasy points. So at a minimum, 9% of the time, you absolutely have to have him. And you need way less than 27 out of a 4K guy. He's probably like 30% to go for 20 plus or 40% for 20 plus. It looks so good. Do you guys have another team you want me to look at, or do you want to just dive in to building lineups? And a reminder, if you're here right now and you have not hit the like button or followed stochastic_com or at Josh Engleman on Twitter, you should be doing all of those things. Because basketball is coming, and you're going to get a lot out of me for the NBA. But yeah, I mean, look at that pitching. I don't have a single share of 15 dudes. All of the guys sub 8K, other than Basso, are all like 2 to 5% owned, and that's where I think they should be. Tanner Houck doesn't look very good. DeGrom is back, but 8,500 pitching 4 innings or something. Projects really well. He's still striking. He struck out like 40-something% of guys in the minors. Going to be hard to want to go to Jake DeGrom. I have no interest in Logan Webb. Schwellenbach against the Dodgers, pass. Freddie Peralta is the most expensive pitcher on the slate. I don't know how anyone would want to do that. Let's build some lineups. I think that's way more fun to do right now. So I'm pulling up the single lineup sim. And I guess the team I'm going to start with is the Astros. We're going to start with the Astros. I definitely want to build the Rockies, but Astros being my number one exposed stack, that's where I want to start. Now, for pitching, I'm going to go to my 2 dudes. I'm going to go to Bailey Ober, and I'm going to go to Brady Basso. And I think we're going to have a lot of money to go around here for Houston. So, for the Astros, we're going to start with Bregman. We're obviously going to get Yordan Alvarez. I'm going to put Diaz in at catcher. I'm going to go Tucker and Pena. I'm going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That, by using Ober and Basso and the first 5 hitters, the actual expensive hitters in the Astros lineup, we still have 4,100 per player, and we get to hit first and outfield. We should be able to buy ridiculous amounts of power today. I think the first spot we have to look at is the Cubs, but Minnesota might be second. So the Cubs would give us at first, can we go Wisdom, Nico Herner, and we don't get an outfielder if we do that from the Cubs. The best outfielder we can get is Jordan Beck in that game. 102.74 projection, 126 ownership. Let's see how we go on lineup number 1. First draft by me, the single lineup czar, the greatest user of the single lineup simulation tool that has ever existed. 48.3 out of the gate. Damn, I'm good at this. But I think that we could do a little bit better. So, number one guy in projection at first base is Ohtani at 10.9. We're not going to go there. Patrick Wisdom, first and third, is the third best projection, which means I'm going to pull Pena and put in Wisdom and see if we can change this one up a little bit. So the number one second baseman is Nico Herner. I don't know why I took Pena out. That was silly. I didn't need to do that. Let's get away from the Cubs. For some reason, I was thinking we were doing a Cubs stack. Okay. Vlad has the fourth highest projection at first. Decent enough value. But Carlos Santana, 2, 4, 6. He's 8th in first base projection. Not all that owned. And 3,600. If Santana goes in, we can get Julien at 3,100. That leaves us 5,600 for an outfielder. Matt Wallner is the 5th most expensive outfielder. If I go to Wallner, that leaves 1,600 on the table. This lineup might actually be better. 102 projection, 118 ownership. It's going to be close. And I think we're going to be able to upgrade. Like, we could upgrade Ober to Cease now. Yeah, 41. Watch what happens here. Because I don't know what the ownership is going to do. We are going to get more fantasy points by changing Ober to Cease. And maybe we could upgrade Basso to something, but I don't think there's anything in the 5,600 range we want. No, there's not. If I upgrade Ober to Cease, do you guys think the lineup gets better than this or worse than this? We're at 41% now. We're going to increase our projection. We're going to increase the ownership. Do you think that is going to be a benefit or a detriment to what this lineup is? I think it's going to end up being a benefit. Cease in $800 savings, up over 105 projection. How much is that ownership worth? Coffee's hitting. I am the greatest person alive at what I'm doing. You guys can see it on the screen right now. 70.6. And if we're being honest, we still have $800 to work with somewhere. Guys, I'm telling you, this is no bullshit. I'm incredible at what I'm doing. I don't think we could do better than this. My only question is, can I turn Matt Wallner into something better? And does 5-2-1 work? No, I can't do better than Wallner. Wallner has the best projection of anybody there. Can I upgrade Julien? So he's third. I can get more projection and less ownership by going to Zach Geloff. But does the correlation hurt? Because Zach Geloff, if we're just looking at this lineup in terms of raw data, Zach Geloff is an upgrade to the lineup. Is it an upgrade to ROI by removing his correlation? Sort of. Sort of. We're sitting at that 73 range again. Can we try a different team than Minnesota? My guess is no, because of how good Santana looks. The only other shot is the Cubs, but Wisdom's just pulling too much ownership. So Santana is sitting here, too good of a value. If we go, what if I go Aranda, Jimenez? Yeah, Cleveland just doesn't have the outfielder to back it up. Can I make one change to the Minnesota side? Or sorry, to the Houston side. Because right now, Mauricio Dubon is a better value than a lot of the guys here. Steven, I might be saying something incorrectly here. It's less important than I think it seems. I don't tend to care at all what the batting order is. All right. So Caratini, Shea Whitcomb. I want to see what we can do to this Astros lineup to maybe improve it and potentially unlock a team with higher projections. We don't want Whitcomb, I don't think. Although he does offer a really staggering amount of value. Dubon just doesn't have the pop. Caratini is interesting. If I take Diaz out and go to Caratini, that's $4,500 a person. Does that change what we can do overall now? Who would be the best outfielder that we can get to? Ohtani, too expensive. I think if we go to the Cubs, we're just going to end up spending too much money. Or sorry, taking on too much ownership. If we go to Wisdom, Nico Herner, yeah, we miss out on the true best Cubs bats. It ends up being Pete Crow Armstrong. So when you take on now he doesn't have too much ownership. I'm guessing this comes down a hair, maybe in the 50 range. Yeah, 35. Yeah, I just don't think it's the Cubs. You would want to get Seiya Suzuki if you could. There's a lot of value out there at outfield today. Let's see if we can get Atlanta. And then we're going to try a different team. So Atlanta, first base. Let's see if we can get Olsen. How is that possible? That can't be right. Someone should show up here. So the Braves don't have an available second baseman. That's interesting. We can get Michael Harris and then any $4,400 second baseman here. I'm going to put Jimenez in since he seems to be our dude. Slight reduction in projection from Geloff, but ownership discount in a big way. It's going to be in the 40s or 50s. Pierre, Andrew, I'll take a look at them. Oh, okay, 60. All right. Something there with Atlanta, that's for sure. Let's take a look at some of these lineups that everybody's submitting. First one that I see in here is Andrew Martinez. So, Andrew, I'm going to take a look at yours first. That's going to be Basso, Cease. We're going to Oakland. Langoliers. Geloff. Butler. Now we go back to Houston. For Diaz, Bregman, Pena, Alvarez, and Tucker. 105 projection, 133 ownership. Yeah, this is going to be in that like 60 range, I think. Andrew, this is really good. If you built this already, you cheater. But if you didn't, I think you nailed this one. Andrew Martinez, let's go, baby. 77.6. Tough to beat that one. Very, very tough to beat that one. That looks good. Good work, brother. Pierre, let's do it here. That's going to be Bailey, Ober, and Basso. Then we're going Amaya. Santana. Nico Herner. Bregman. Swanson. Seiya Suzuki. Hap and Churio. Hip, hip, Churio. All right, so one-off Churio, we're absolutely going to take out of there when we rerun this because we can get more projection. 102.3 projection, 127 ownership. This is going to be good. We'll probably be in that 30-40 range. But we can get more fantasy points by swapping out of Churio. Oh, 27.5. Okay. If we turn Churio into anybody from Minnesota, into Buxton, that might help. If we turn Bregman, no way to upgrade that. This will get a little bit better by going to Buxton because it's just a slightly higher projection, but won't be huge. Yeah, 42. Okay. Looks good. All right, now I want to build the Rockies. This is the most intriguing team to me on paper. So that's going to be Charlie Blackmon. It's going to be Doyle. These guys are going to be so expensive. It's going to be Tovar. McMahon and Toglia, I guess. Pitching seems pretty obviously Basso plus something. I'm going to start with my boy Bailey Ober first. That leaves us 3,600 for catcher, second, and outfield. But we got to remember, we have used basically no ownership by going to Colorado. 3%, 4%, 5%, 3%, 5%. Whatever we want here, we could eat a lot of ownership. So we're going to go to Houston. Diaz is the number one projected catcher on the day, and his ownership doesn't matter to us. A little expensive. This might get tough, but I think that's where we start. Second base is probably going to take us away from Houston, which means I kind of want to get the best possible value outfielder I can, since we don't have a lot of money to go around. We can't go Corey Julks, who would have been the answer. Matt Wallner sitting right there at 4K. That will really limit us at second base to the point where we can only go Jack Lopez. I'm going to look at it. 95 projection, 78 ownership. This is not going to be what we're looking for. This projection is going to be way too low. I think we need to get this up over 100 to like it. And I don't know how possible that's even going to be, but we definitely cut the ownership. Yeah, 17%. There's something here, and we need to figure out what that is. And I think second base is going to be the hardest spot to fill. Highest projected second base guy is Nico Herner, but he's 5,100. Zach Geloff appears to be the guy we need. So if I go Geloff, I can go Langoliers. Is there a $3,700 Oakland outfielder? We can go to Daz Cameron. Now, we might be able to upgrade to anybody else, but I want to start with Daz Cameron and go 5-3. This is just still going to be too low of a projection. Now, maybe that means that we pull one dude from Colorado and go 4-4. All right, we're up to 43. We're about to figure this one out. If I take out Daz Cameron and I take out in this moment, I'm just going to take out Doyle, but not because I'm taking Doyle out. I just want everybody to show up here. Actually, I got to put Doyle back in there because Doyle's not the one that's coming out. It's got to be Toglia. And if I take Toglia out, now we actually have some Oakland availability. Tyler Nevin is not that good. So it's not going to be Toglia. And if it's not Toglia, I don't really want it to be Jacob Wilson. It might have to be McMahon. Yeah, so McMahon is the worst value third base option here. This is going to be the place where we can save it. If I put Tyler Nevin in, what outfield? Then I can get Laren. Oh my God, we can upgrade aggressively here then. Third base is an issue, though. Now I'm just ending up with too much money. Where can I spend it? Geloff is just such a good value. Like if we put Rooker in, we just have too much salary left over. But if we do that, then we don't have enough salary at second. Can I drop down from Ober? So Ober is the fourth highest projected pitcher. But I could drop down to Tanner Babee and save a little bit of money. I could drop down to Kevin Gausman and save a little bit more money. Let's see what happens if we go to Kevin Gausman. Because now we're cutting that ownership even more. $5-2-1. All right, we might be onto something here. We're up to almost 97 fantasy points, and we're still at 72% ownership. 5-3 Colorado, Oakland with Basso and Gausman. Yeah, that's what we're talking about. So we have figured out that there is a path to these low-owned teams. You can pay up to be contrarian for Colorado and still find a really, really good lineup. And I think that there's a lot more that we could crack here and maybe go 4-4 and unlock a little bit more. All right, Steven, this is the first lineup that I see from you. By the way, schedule for the rest of the day. Let me hit this first. And again, hit that like button if you haven't done it yet. Schedule for the rest of the day. Not a ton going on, but you know, we have at least 3 more hours of coverage. So we have NFL Strategy Show, Laffy and Greg coming up in 15 minutes on this channel. You'll get the breakdown for NFL Sunday. And then you get MLB Live Before Lock tonight. Greg and Bellman breaking down this baseball slate. You're going to want to be there for the weather news. All right, Steven, I'm going to hit yours now. We're going Kikuchi and Basso. We're going Langoliers, Olsen, Geloff, Bregman, Jacob Wilson, Jordan, Tucker, Rooker. 101.6 and 106. Yeah, that should be pretty good. I actually think this is going to be... I'm going to say it right now. I'm expecting this to be the best one we've seen. $73.7. Stephen Leibowitz, come on down. It's a hell of a lineup. We found the upper bound, though. Somewhere in that 70% range. Braden says, what ROI are the good sim lineups getting? Feels like in the 70s is pretty good. It's always going to be context dependent based on the slate, though. But 70 feels like you're succeeding. All right, I'm going to look at one more team before we get out of here. Chat, hit me with some votes. Which team do you want to look at? Let's think of something that might be a little weird today. Do we want to go Braves? That is my second most exposed stack, and they are not very owned. We just did a one-off Olsen, but I kind of want to go to my Braves. You guys have any issues with that? Kind of want my Atlanta Braves here. Peter wants the Yankees. That is a team that I do not have right now. Kind of makes it interesting, though. I assume, Steven, you're saying do it with regards to the Braves. There's an Arizona Diamondbacks vote. That's another team I essentially don't have. If anybody else votes for Yankees or Arizona, I'll do it. But right now, I'm leaning Braves. Somebody needs to... Oh, there's, Yankees. All right, Yankee stack it is. Got to give the people what they want. So let's hit the Yanks. Oh, this is going to get bleak. Well, we might as well just put Basso in right now, because obviously he's going to be in this. So Gleyber Torres immediately goes in. Great value for a second baseman. Honestly, I don't want Judge and Soto, but it doesn't really seem like we have a choice. So Judge, Soto, Austin Wells, and then I think we probably just want the best possible value play left for the Yankees, which in this case is Anthony Rizzo. So I'll do that. Now, pitching, we need to save some salary. So we're going to go Basso. You know what? I'm going to go Basso Cease just to see what it looks like to start. We have 3,800 left for whoever we're looking for. Highest projected third baseman that we can get to is Jose Ramirez. Not the best value. Bregman is the guy. And since we don't have any ownership coming from the Yankees, I think we could eat Bregman here. This might get costly. Bregman, Pena, Mauricio Dubon works. 99.4 projection, 102 ownership. This will be in the 50s or so. Somewhere in that neighborhood. We can probably get away from Cease, unlock some salary, and upgrade Dubon. 67. Yeah, let's see what that does. If we take out Cease and Dubon, this might get tough. But if we go back to Houston, just out of curiosity, Tucker leaves us 6,400 for a pitcher. That's only Javier Assad. It's a giant ownership cut. 96 projection isn't the worst situation. Tucker's going to be too much here. Andrew, I think I might run out of time, but we'll see. All right, 60% there. We can pull something off. Now, if we just opt out of Tucker and Alvarez, and we look at Jake Myers, Then we can go to Tanner Babi. $600 left on the table. Oh, the Czar is in the building. 80.9. I am so damn good at this. It's insane. And I think that I can make one additional upgrade. If I'm right about this salary, I'm not right about the salary. So, doesn't matter. Oh, man. 80.9. Anybody else hard as a rock? That's just me. I just want to see if I could swap out Houston. I don't think it's going to be easy because of Bregman being so good. Wisdom, Swanson, not an available Cubs outfielder. Best outfielder we could take is Matt Wallner. Just out of curiosity. 5-2-1 for the Yanks. Yanks, Cubs, one off Matt Wallner. Can we beat 80.9? 64. All right. Couldn't do it. All right, Andrew, let me try that one quickly before we get out of here. That was Basso, Cease, Caratini. Oh, sorry. Langoliers, Caratini, Geloff, Bregman, Pena, Alvarez, Tucker, Rooker. 103.98, 133 ownership. This is going to be good. 104 projection is heavy. Ownership, I think, could even... And we have $700 left. I'm expecting this to be, 60s or 70s. 71.9. We have $700 left. I think Rooker is probably the guy. Because we can get another fantasy point. Does the ownership matter? If I add Seiya Suzuki here, number one projected dude, how much does that ownership matter? Because now we're up over 105. What are we getting here? 66.9. All right, so if I go to Diaz, who's the best Oakland guy in terms of value? Wilson is really the only option at short. Now that saves a ton of money. If I pull Pena and go to Wilson and I put Cease back in the lineup, we have 1,800 to upgrade somewhere. What's the best? If I go 5-2-1, what's the best shortstop available? It is Pena. Okay. So where's the upgrade here? Geloff's probably not going to be a big enough gap. Yeah, Geloff stays. It's not Pena. It's probably Caratini. Who's the best first baseman? No, it's definitely not Caratini. Well, what if I come down off of Cease? And in lieu of Cease, we go Tanner. We can go to Tanner Babi, I think. And that unlocks... Let's just see one-off wisdom. Is that too much ownership now? Yeah, it's going to be too much ownership. Well, we're down to the final 5 minutes, which means the NFL strategy show is upon us. We're going to need to get at it. Whoa! Oh. Who needs a 69 ROI when you could smack a 105? Guys, what are we doing here? Is anybody better at this in the world? Because it feels like the answer is absolutely no. I am incredible at all things single lineup simulator. You can be incredible too by watching this show and by signing up at Stochastic and using the tool the same way that I'm doing it. Because we just built an absolute gem. A complete gem. And we could swap. This might get better. I can go to Suzuki over Brent Rooker. He is more owned. It's an extra fantasy point. This is the final thing we're looking at before we get out of here. Do I beat 100? This is a 107.3 projection. Is it too much ownership is the question. And we can fix that by switching out the B to Ober. 91. Actually, we would switch to Kevin Gossman. Is that ownership discount worth it? It might be. Is Solo Josh the best Josh? I mean, me and Loppy are the best show that ever existed on the channel. It's not close. But DFS advice, waffling. 90. Okay. We hit the 100, folks. We hit the 100. Guys, thank you for being here. Hit the like button on your way out the door. Subscribe to the channel. Notification bell. Monday morning, we are back here doing this again. Cracking the code for the best individual lineups. We can build them by hand and we can be awesome. You can see it right here on the screen. Thank you guys for being here. Have a great weekend. I'll talk to you later.